Hi everyone. It is me, Sailor Jupiter. It's me, Sailor Neptune, Sailor SeaWorld, Michelle here. And today I want to talk about the Unstraight and Sailor Moon and if they were handled the right way or not. Because a lot of folks do bring up, the Unstraight folks in Sailor Moon. Now, if you're talking about the Dic or Cloverway world, then not so much. A lot of folks also will always keep making a thing or will say, well, why did Deke have to make Zoisite a woman? Now, a lot of folks have scathed Deke for making Zoisite a woman under the grounds that Zoisite wasn't doing anything that was wrong. Yes, Zoisite was an evildoer and she was doing wrong. In Deke's world, she's a woman. I'm sorry. For whatever ground, sake, or why, you can come up with whatever forgiveness you want. Deke looked at, Malachite and Zoisite, because that's what they shift Quinfight's name to, and looked at that and say, oh no, unstraight selves can't work. And they were most likely worried that someone might watch it or someone might watch it with their kids, get all irked and angered over it, and make a big deal about it. Nowadays, no, nowadays a lot of nowadays it's not a big deal anymore, But back in the day, it was a big deal. Why they made a big deal back then? Your guess is good as mine. I don't know. So Zoisite became a woman. And really, at the end of the day, that was the only time that Deke had to deal with Unstraight and Sailor Moon. Cloverway and Pioneer, they had to deal with it about 2 times. Because Sailor Uranus, Sailor Skyworld, Amara, and myself, Sailor Neptune, Sailor SeaWorld, we were unstraight lovers in every other take of Sailor Moon. Well, not in a Cloverway and Pioneer world, no. And Pioneer and Cloverway couldn't make us into women since we were already women. So what they did was they chose to shift our kinship from being lovers to being near kin. And I know a lot of folks out there could see through that and they could say, oh, well, you're making them say things and you're making them do things, but it's not matching up with what's being done, And yes, it was true. A lot of Sailor Moon followers either scathed, Sarah Uranus, Skyworld, Sailor Neptune, SeaWorld, myself, for becoming near kin in the Cloverway Pioneer world or Pathseeker world, and thought that they should have not done it, or believed that by 20 YL that the mindset and stand would have shifted on that. At the time, it did not. Nowadays, there are more folks out there who are open-minded, have more trust and understanding, more welcoming of folks who are, unstraight and whatever arm of unstraightness they belong to. But there are still some folks out there who are not. But a lot of folks nowadays are. And that includes having an unstraight self in a show, film, or play for children, which the standards have shifted. And they shifted for the good. We'll say that way. Then you have Fisheye, or known as Fisheye. Well, it really Pioneer and Cloverway really did not shift the name that much on the self. Now, a lot of folks say that in the other offshoots that Fisheye was a man who liked to clothe himself in women's clothing and liked to go after other men's dreams. Now, that may have been true in all the other takes of Sailor Moon. In the Cloverway Pioneer world, Fisheye became a woman. And a lot of folks did not think that, a lot of folks thought that was handled wrong. But at the end of the day, I believe, like Dic, I guess Dic was worried. The same way that Dic was worried, the same way that Dic Lee was worried, was the same way that Cloverway and Business and Pioneer Glee were worried that someone might watch that show with their children and they might make such a big deal about it, you know, and make it where Sailor Moon would be, and make a big deal out of it. And they didn't want to deal with that. So that's why they did that. Now, a lot of folks give onlook to Viz or Viz News for not having to shift or skim anything out of Sailor Moon. Yes, by the time Viz got the rights to work with Sailor Moon's all 4 followings, the 3 films, the 5 followings of the drawing show, the 3 drawing films, and what so. Yeah, the standard, the mindset, the welcoming, the trusting, the understanding of folks who are unstraight is now new. Now it's the standard of the trusting folks or welcoming folks or having understanding of folks who are unstraight or being open-minded about folks being unstraight, you know, is where it is now. So now it's not a big deal anymore. But at that time, it was seen as a big deal, by at least by those 2 businesses. I can't really speak for any other drawing show business or any live show business that was doing shows, films, or plays for children at that time that didn't do that kind of skimming, you know. Now, a lot of folks will say that they handled it all wrong, but I think they handled it all right. I don't really think they could have, they could have you know, they could have made it where there was no Zoisite. Mind see that. It would have been Millikite by himself, talking to himself, having dealings with someone else. There would have been no Zoisite taking over for Nephrite at all. It would have just been whatever. I don't know how that would have worked. I mean, they could have, you know, smoothly cut us out and not even done anything with us, but they chose to keep us in, and they chose to keep Zoisite in, and they chose to keep Fisheye in. They could have smoothly done away with her in some way. And before I end this film, there are some folks out there who believe that Sailor Stars, why Dic or Cloverway or Pioneer or 4Kids, or why Hanna-Barbera, why no one ever got the rights to work with it. And it had nothing to do with the Sailor Starlights. It had to do with the deal. In 2003 YL, Pioneer and Cloverway let their deal go. And Toei Business chose not to get a new deal, and they chose not to get a new deal with them. So Toei Business, you know, didn't choose. Pioneer Glee and Cloverway and Business let their deal go in 2003 YL and chose not to put it up for, and chose not to go for another bid with Toei to keep it. And Toei chose not to bid out the last following of Sailor Moon to any business. So that's why Sailor Stars didn't get to see the light of day, at least true English work, until Viz News got the rights to it. It had nothing to do with the Sailor Starlights at all. Only I don't know how Cloverway or Pioneer or Viz, I don't know how Pioneer or Cloverway or 4Kids or Hanna-Barbera or Dic, or how anyone would have handled the Sailor Starlights at that time. But that's why the Sailor Stars why I didn't get Sailor Stars until years later. Well, that's why it took years before Viz News got the rights to it. So let me know what you think about it, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.